I can't believe it. I was looking at the market today, Tom, and we actually saw some pretty great movement, especially towards the end of the day. Yeah, it started off a little bit choppy, but we're actually starting to see some really great volatility. So in today's video, we're going to go over some awesome plays for tomorrow. And as always, we have a big money trade to watch out for, worth around $814,000 today. But we're actually starting to see some pretty awesome opportunities set up in the market. And tomorrow will be the most important day of the week as we have some giant earnings and big events that you will not want to miss. So with that being said, Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. It was actually really awesome to see some of these pullbacks finally coming into some of these bigger stocks like Nvidia and others like it. I will say AMD actually had a really good start to the day and then started falling back off. I think they actually did end up in the green very, very slightly there, but Nvidia had a big drop down. We saw a lot of these bigger stocks in the market continuing to fall. Some of the bigger ones that have been rising a lot recently that I saw dip was BABA. That one had a pretty big dip to the downside here. The China stock started falling back down. I also noticed MasterCard was down 2.8%. That was a pretty big pullback out of a stock like them. We even saw Google have a big move back down, and pretty much all the big stocks in the market, Netflix, Disney, Tesla was actually down in the red. So it was a very red day in the stock market. I feel like there's a lot of fear starting to come in with the impending default. I know that Biden and McCarthy, they met last night a little bit and they didn't really get anything done. There's just a lot of back and forth going on right now, and it's really not good for the stock market at the time.
Exactly. And while that is kind of scary, I actually am starting to get really excited with the market because let's go to a daily chart, Tom, especially on some of these stocks like Google and Microsoft, and of course, Nvidia and stocks like that. But we've been in a situation where it's like a lot of these stocks are just up so much in the short term where it's like no one really wants to buy them at this point when they're already up so much. But at the same time, it's been really hard to short these stocks because they keep going higher and higher and higher and higher. But now we're finally starting to see like a decent momentum shift, and we're actually starting to see a good amount of profit taking as well. So as Tom said, we did see some selling pressure today, and especially when you look at some of these stocks like Apple as a prime example, I would not be surprised if we saw a little bit of a pullback in the short term. For many of these stocks, we're coming up to major resistance levels. The news is mostly bad in the market, and honestly, a lot of these stocks are just too overbought.
Yeah, they are. Like Apple from the low to the high was up 41%. Now, I know that that seems like a lot, but we go to something like Meta, for example. Meta is up 184, 185% from the lows. Then we have Nvidia with those big earnings tomorrow. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about those earnings. Up 190% plus, like 192% from lows. That is a huge move there. And I know that we've been beating on this subject, I feel like, Mike, for a few weeks now because it just keeps going up and higher and higher. And every time we start to get some consolidation, you know, the stocks keep going up. I feel like that with this fear starting to come in, I think that we're going to finally see some of these bigger moves to the downside. Now, like we said, there is some events coming up this week. Tomorrow, we have the FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So watch out for that. That could be a pretty influential thing for the markets. Mike, I know everybody always loves to see the FOMC, you know, just what they're talking about and everything like that. So the minutes are going to be crucial to see tomorrow.
There we go. So yeah, you guys heard Tom. The FOMC minutes report is tomorrow. This always moves the market. It's going to happen at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then not only do we have the FOMC minutes report, Tom, but we have those giant earnings coming from Nvidia. It's going to be the day of the week tomorrow. So Nvidia is going to be huge. And then we even have Snowflake both in after hours. So that'll be really exciting.
Yeah, I will. Nvidia is up so much right now, Mike. I know that we've talked about this one a few times. We had some good charts in Sunday night's video too. I really feel like that with Nvidia, with their earnings coming up, they have to have a very good report or else they're going to really start to fall down here. I mean, they are up so much. Like I said, 192% plus from those lows. That is insane. So I am definitely watching this one, Mike. I might even play some puts on it tomorrow before the market closes. I know it's a pretty big risk with those earnings, but man, it's definitely tempting right now with how high it is in the short term and with some of these big pullbacks coming in.
Yeah, it's a crazy one. So keep a close eye on Nvidia for tomorrow. The main thing I'm going to be looking to do with this stock is ride the momentum after the earnings is already reported. So I might look for a trade on this one on Thursday or Friday. If this stock, has a sell-off to the downside, I would love to ride that momentum and just drive it into the ground, and just ride that short-term wave of sellers. At the same time, let's say Nvidia has some amazing news and, there's a very optimistic outlook. I also might look to play that to the upside in that scenario. But the main thing is I'm just looking to ride the momentum after the report.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's all types of ways to play it out there. I mean, with this one, Mike, I'm going to be honest. I think I might take a little bit of risk on this one. It's always fun to, have a little bit of gambles here and there, but obviously, be very careful out there, guys. Do your due diligence and obviously know where you are risk wise. Like, obviously, if you have a smaller account, like $500 or something like that, you probably don't want to be, taking the risk like that on Nvidia. So keep that in mind there. But it's going to be a very fun report. Looks like they're actually in a bit of like a wedge formation right now. There's a big support right around 306 to 307 that it actually looks like it might fall down below tomorrow. So hopefully it falls down ahead of earnings, Mike. That would even be nice to see.
We will see. Another stock that caught my eye today, Tom, was Netflix. They were selling off in a decent way, and they actually had some very interesting news today. So fill us in.
Yeah, we've actually been talking about this with Netflix for a long time. And hey, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this one too. I know a lot of people like Netflix cracking down on their password sharing, but some people actually don't like it. So it looks like what they're going to be doing is they're going to be making it to where you can have family members in your household use the account. You can apparently add them on. There's going to be a cap on that, obviously. And then it looks like for people outside of that, you're going to have to pay $7.99 a month per person to add them onto your plan. Now, there's obviously a few plans here with Netflix. You guys can check out the chart. The ad-supported tier, 2 devices at a time, is only $6.99 a month. The highest is the premium, 4 devices at a time, $19.99 a month. And then you can obviously, add those outside the household members on and stuff like that for those extra fees. But it's very interesting, Mike. So I actually read that they tested this in Latin America, and right off the bat, they saw a lot of cancellations with this news. It's not very popular. A lot of people were probably upset at the time. They were like, man, now I have to pay, but they ended up, cracking or just ultimately paying in the end. And then they said, as a result, they actually saw more revenue at the end of this. So I think that's actually good, but Netflix fell down today. I will say though, Mike, maybe they were just victim to the overall market, but they did have some, pretty good green candles in the middle of the day there, at least.
There we go. So keep a close eye on Netflix for tomorrow. I agree with Tom in the sense of like, maybe this news wasn't the whole reason the stock fell down today, but either way, Netflix stock is kind of overbought anyways, and it does have room to the downside, so just keep it on your radar. I will also be watching it pretty closely. There is some pretty strong resistance around this 370 level.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, that's a huge double top up there, and it's been riding this kind of like this trend line to the upside the whole time and hasn't really fallen too far below it, but I could see it really starting to dip down here in the short term. Even if, the password sharing helps or something like that, I feel like, as they roll it out, like they said, initially it was actually hurting in the short term, but then started to get better over time. So maybe we'll see that happen with Netflix too. But, there were just so many opportunities to the downside today, Mike. It was insane. Like we go look at the NASDAQ, and it had a huge drop. There was a big wedge play, had a big resistance at 337, fell down. And guess what, Mike? Our bot plays were on fire today. Fill us in.
Yeah, let's go. So if you guys are into short-term trading, pay attention to this. So our hybrid bot just sniped a QQQ put play today. It was absolutely amazing. So basically it alerted the QQQ 337 strike puts at $248 each. And by the end of the day, these puts were trading for $450 each. So that was absolutely amazing. Our sniper bot does a great job too, and if you do decide to join the premium portion of the chat, you'll not only get access to these bots, but also multi-million-dollar hedge fund style trades every single day, as well as swing trades and a bunch of other great tools and features. So if you're into short-term trading, this is the program for you. Check it out. It's that first link in the description in the comments down below. In the worst case scenario, you can cancel it anytime, but this type of alert is pretty simple. You can get notifications, so you can basically do whatever you want in the morning, and then when the bot finds setups that it likes, you will get a notification on your phone, and if you want to follow it, feel free. But most of the hard work is done for you, so definitely check it out. It's that first link in the description in the comments down below. But Tom, you can't leave Discord that quickly. We have to go back for the member of the day, Rachagam, who just crushed it with the QQQ bot play today in the Profits channel. We can see he has the bot flexing right there. I love that. I love that right there. So awesome job, Rachagam. You had like a 74% profit with QQQ, and on top of that, you've been in the chat for almost 3 years now. So we love having you in there. Thanks so much for everything, and keep being a great member of the chat. But besides that, Tom, I think it's now time for some setups for tomorrow. One stock that I am watching very closely is Microsoft. You beat me to it, Tom. Microsoft is at a giant resistance level right around $320 a share. It's overbought in the short term. The whole market's kind of turning over a little bit. So I'm going to be watching Microsoft very closely to the downside for tomorrow, and honestly over like the next week or so.
Yeah, whenever I start to zoom out, I mean, this play looks fantastic. It fell below some of those big supports today, which I love. And I definitely think that Microsoft can go down a little bit more. If we go out to the daily on Microsoft, Mike, it's insane to see how much it's been running up above all these huge levels that, we've been playing off of over the past couple of years. So pretty cool to see us running back up there with Microsoft. Man, I should say falling back down. But with GLD, Mike, I'm actually looking at this one to the upside. So while we're looking at all these tech stocks to fall down, gold actually had a pretty good day. Now, I'm not going to say it was the best, but pretty much from open, it rose up and ended up going green at the end. Whenever I go to the daily chart of gold, it is very, very high right now, and it's actually triple topping on a long-term chart right around this 190 to 192, 193 resistance. If we start to break up above there, Mike, I think we could go up significantly more, but even more than that in the short term, as these tech stocks start to fall down and as the default starts to get closer, I think that this will be a good hedge with fear coming in. So I definitely like this as a play on fear.
There we go. You can't go wrong with gold, right? Especially when you have a potential default looming. So I like your thinking there. Another stock I'm watching is Google, and this setup is very, very, very similar to the Microsoft setup. There's giant resistance overhead right around 125. It's overbought in the short term, and like I said, the whole market's getting a little bit weak right now. So just like with Microsoft, I'm going to be watching Google to the downside for tomorrow and the rest of the week.
Yeah, that play looks awesome. I actually like this one even better than the Microsoft one personally, Mike. They've just been up so much in the short term, like with all this AI stuff coming out and everything like that. They've just been really flying here. So I'll be watching it under that like 122 support as well. It's going to be pretty fun to play here over the next few days. And, I'm also, my next play is also a play to the downside, except this one is actually on Netflix, or I mean Disney. Sorry, I got the two streamers mixed up there, but it's on Disney. So Disney's been really falling down, Mike. They're actually down around $90, which is a big recent support. If we get much more movement to the downside tomorrow, I'll definitely feel this one out for some more momentum. Now, if we go out to the daily chart, Netflix is nearing some big supports, and I think that, we might come down to retest this 85-ish area over the next few days. Whenever we zoom in, I mean, the way it's starting to turn over here is definitely getting brutal. Now, I actually like Disney for the long term, and I know I've said that a lot lately, so I kind of want to give an update on it, and I'm still buying in for the long term, like every week with a few shares, maybe 10 shares, 20 share lots here and there to build up these positions. But Mike, at the end of the day, this stock might fall down for a little while in the short term, and you're going to have to keep averaging in on it if you like it for the long term. But in the short term, I think puts are a fantastic way to, try to catch some day trades in on it with.
Beautiful. There we go. Well, it is now time for the momentum plays. With the first one, we have Netflix to the downside.
NFLX, yeah, big play here. Go ahead and make them break under 354, just below that low of day.
All right, with the next one, we have Apple, also to the downside.
AAPL, big move today, right back to support. Go ahead and make them break under 171.30.
And with the last one, we have Tesla, and we need both directions.
Yeah, so Tesla is very mixed. Early on, they really broke out. A few stocks did this morning, but if they end up falling under the support at 185, watch them to the downside. I actually saw some pretty big levels on the book map there today with Tesla, Mike. If we actually go over to it really quickly here, 185 is a big level there intraday. You can see 23,000 orders, and there was a big orange level down there at the bottom, and then there's lots of sellers overhead. So if we break under 185, that could be a huge play for tomorrow. So definitely watch that one on Tesla. To the upside, though, there's a pretty big resistance overhead that I noticed intraday right around 189. So if we're able to get above that, I'll look for calls. But I will say, though, Mike, we're looking pretty bleak as far as upwards movement.
All right, so you guys heard Tom. We have that upside level on Tesla. If it breaks above that, we're watching it for calls. We have the downside level as well. If it breaks below that, we're watching it for puts. And then you can't forget about the Apple and Netflix trades as well. If they break below their levels, we will be watching these ones for puts as well. But it is now time, Tom, for the big money $814,000 trade of the day. $814,000 was dumped into Starbucks, but not in the way that you might think. This is actually a bearish trade. And I'm going to warn you guys, it's a little bit complicated, but if you don't understand options, I'm going to break it down in a nice and simple way. Long story short, someone is betting that Starbucks is going to fall a lot from where it is right now until October 20th of 2023. More specifically, someone bought the Starbucks 100 strike put options and at the same time shorted the Starbucks 80 strike put options as a put debit spread for $814,000 each. This trade will realize a maximum profit if Starbucks is at or below $80 on October 20th, but it can still be very profitable if Starbucks falls down to, let's say, $90 or so, as a simple example. But either way, looking at Starbucks, it's been in free fall over this past month, and I think Starbucks has a lot of room to the downside as long as it can really get through this $100 support that it's at right now.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting to see them kind of falling down as hard as they are. You would think maybe something like them might hold up a little bit better than some of the tech stocks or something, but they are definitely pulling back very hard after that big uptrend. And, maybe this is kind of forecasting that some of these tech stocks are coming next. But I like the play, Mike. I think it's definitely a pretty good one to follow. I like the strikes on the spread too. Pretty good strikes there. And I do think that, for the average trader out there, if you're looking at this, you might want to go with like the 100 strike puts or maybe the 98 strike puts if you see more momentum. But yeah, Mike, it's an awesome play. And for anyone out there who doesn't know spreads, definitely check out the Discord and the link down below. And hey, there's a lot of information there. Just ask us about it. We'll send you some videos and stuff.
There we go. Now, Tom, we talked a lot about stocks in general starting to pull back a little bit, but especially some of these big tech stocks starting to pull back. When people think of big tech stocks, there is one stock that comes to mind, and that is Apple, right? It was a bloodbath all day long today, and Bookmap is actually showing some pretty concerning things with this right now. So we can see, especially when we zoom out, there are a whole lot of sellers lined up all over the place, right? So it's going to be pretty hard for Apple to make a decent sized run. For this week, it'll need a lot of buying pressure, and there's like basically one lonely area where buyers are at, right at 170. But besides that, there's just a gang of sellers on Apple right now, and I just want to bring this up, guys, because you can't really see this data behind the scenes unless you look at like level 2 or Bookmap. So either way, it's very important, and it's definitely something you should know going into tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. And hey, we'll pin a comment down below with a link to Bookmap. It's awesome. Check it out. It's one of my favorite tools to play with during the day, obviously for day trades and scalps. I love using it with the bots, Mike. It's really helpful. And a lot of members have actually gotten it already, and they love it too. So check it out. It's awesome. There's a lot of videos out there going over Bookmap and stuff. And hey, we'll just be having more and more come out. I'll actually link Mike your new video about Bookmap down below as well.
Perfect. Alrighty, well, Tom, we're set for a good day tomorrow. We're seeing some really good momentum. I love this types of movement. Today was perfect in my opinion. Do you have any other last minute thoughts or anything else you're watching for the biggest day of the week?
Yeah, Nvidia is going to be huge with those earnings. Don't forget to let me know in the comments which way you think this one's going to go, or if you're going to play it. Like Mike said, it's probably better to play it after the earnings come out, but man, it's a pretty crazy stock and a pretty crazy setup right now. I'm curious, Mike, if this thing has a good report, it could really blast, but at the same time, I mean, it could really fall too. It's gonna be like a coin flip. It's almost like playing roulette on this one here tomorrow.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you're into short-term trading, you guys know where to head. It's going to be that first link in the description and the comments down below. Our bots have been doing pretty great lately, so definitely check it out. Besides that, let's have an amazing rest of the week.